Hi, and welcome to the video summary of our newsletter update. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ellie Owens. I am a co-founder and the vice president of E2 Gold, and I'm here to provide you with a bit of an update on the activities that are going on the Hawkins project. So for those of you who are new to the company, this summary is not going to be an overview of the company. If you want more background information, please head over to our media center. There are lots of interviews there with a little bit more of an overview information of the company. These video summaries and these newsletters are really trying to provide specific information about the activities that are going on at Hawkins that, might not make it into a press release, but are still very important to the exploration process. So things like mapping, soil sampling, geophysics, geochemistry, not really sexy enough for a press release, but really important for efficient spending and efficient use of our exploration dollars. So of course I'm going to start with the flashy big news, which is our recent financing. We raised $5.6 million. That was 50% above the original target of $3 to $4 million. So that extra raise, why did we raise an extra bit of money there? Well, it's because we ended up adding sort of two new series of drilled targets to our drilling, which started this past summer. And these two new series of drilled targets are going to require another drill rig to be brought on site eventually sometime in the near future. So the first bit of the raise will be funding our original targeting for this drilling program, and that is the Stepout drill program. So you can see here the McKinnon resource in red. This original sort of tier 1 targeting series will be stepping out along strike of the resource and also stepping out below the resource but at a shallow depth to chase some of those high-grade intercepts from the winter drilling. But the second series of drill targets that were really the reason for this additional portion of the raise is this at-depth drilling targeting. And this idea came out of a meeting with Crux and Dr. Quinton Henning this past June. And this idea was to step out much below the McKinnon resource. You can see the McKinnon resource outlined in purple here, overlaying the Hemlo, the outline of the Hemlo deposit. And so the idea here is to step out much below the McKinnon resource because, of course, we're trying to take this resource and grow it into a mineable deposit. And in order to do that, there needs to be an at-depth component. But you can see how much heterogeneity there is to the Hemlo deposit itself. And if you were to just simply drill at depth anywhere, there's a good chance you could miss the deposit. So this program is really designed more of, you can think of it as more of a statistical style of drilling, where each drill hole will be spaced roughly equally apart, 300 meters apart, and the target will be 400 to 500 meters at depth. So that's the real reason for this extra funding. And the third target will be, the third series of drilling will be targeting geophysical anomalies that are outside of the McKinnon resource. Now that series of drilling is much more early stage in greenfields, but we're very excited about it nonetheless. So some really exciting drill targets and lots of activities going on, which will require, as I said, an extra drill rig coming onto site in the near future. Now, the McKinnon resource, the first thing we're trying to do with it is enhance the deposit, build more volume, and build more of a resource here. But the second thing that we're doing with the McKinnon resource is trying to use it as a case study for what gold is associated with on the Hawkins project. Remember that the McKinnon resource here is only 3 kilometers long out of a 60-kilometer long property package. So it provides a useful starting point for our geologists to get more familiar with what is associated with gold on the Hawkins project. What kind of geochemical signatures, what kind of geophysical anomalies, what are the visual geologic characteristics that we see with the gold on the McKinnon zone. And once we sort of get more familiar with that, we can then step away from the McKinnon zone, trying to find other targets on the Hawkins project, whether that's an extension of the McKinnon deposit or a whole new deposit on its own. So that's what we're doing with McKinnon resource. And with that in mind, other activities that we're doing to try and provide drilling targets on the rest of the Hawkins project is first mapping. So our mappers came out in May and they started on the McKinnon zone, trying to get more familiar with that area. And they've stepped out now and they're going to be moving along to the western area of this central zone. And then they will be moving into these, what we're calling the Western Claim Block. This block of claims were claims that E2 Gold wholly owns. We staked them from last year, a year ago May. There are a lot of very interesting geologic targets on them, but it's very early stage. So we're going to send our mappers out here at the end of the summer and sort of beginning of the fall. We are also going to be doing a large airborne magnetic survey on these Western claim blocks this fall. And that will help us start to target a little bit more for drilling on these Western claim blocks. In geophysics news, we will also be conducting a complete IP survey on this central core 15 kilometers of the Hawkins project. You might remember back in the winter, we conducted an IP survey on 3 sections of this central zone. The purpose of that was to test and see what kinds of anomalies we got back, to see if it would be useful to do a broader IP survey on that area. And we got back some very interesting anomalies, so we will be conducting a much bigger IP survey on this whole central area. In geophysics news, we also are doing downhole geophysics surveys. What is that? Well, we took our drill holes from the winter program and are sending a probe down those drill holes to collect IP geophysics information from those drill holes. Normal geophysics is tested on the surface, so it kind of gives you a vertical reading. If you put the probe downhole, then you get a horizontal information as well, which is very useful. And finally, we are starting a sort of preliminary soil sampling program to see how well soil sampling can work on the property. And we are also doing a number of different microprobe and petrological and mineralogical studies on the ore at the McKinnon zone, again, to see how we can use that information to try and target other areas off of the McKinnon zone. So that's sort of the update of our activities on the Hawkins project. If you want to know more information, please check out our media center. There's lots of videos there where you can get more information. Feel free to reach out to us and ask your questions, but also keep in mind that we will be having a number of webinars in August as well as early September, and you can meet us in person at these conferences here in the fall. So reach out to us if you would like to set up a meeting. Thanks very much for listening, and hope you follow along with the news as it comes out.